think we are good to go. Let me get everything set up here. Make sure my camera is running. Make sure everything is good. I think I have my chat here. Hey, everybody. Experimenting with a new setup a little bit this week. Last week, I had some issues with my microphone. I have this nice new microphone, but I had this terrible delay on it. It was like a good 2 or 3 seconds between my mouth and the microphone. So I have my old microphone back, which has some pros and cons. I need to figure out a way to mount this thing because right now it's sitting on the table. Anytime I type or I click or anything like that, you're going to hear it. What Sidewinder reveal? There's no Sidewinders here. How's it going, Marin? It's good to see you. Glad to see you're not in class today. Say hi to Abby for me. Yeah, so we've got a few news things that we're covering this week. It's been kind of a slow news week. There's not a lot going on. I was running around yesterday, so I couldn't stream, but it was also good because I wasn't online. I didn't see a lot of April Fool's jokes, and that was kind of nice. So yeah, this is Monitor Month. Welcome to April. We're going to be covering a lot of things because not a lot of new stuff is gearing up to kind of come out over the next few weeks. So I've got some new Apple monitors behind me that just rolled in yesterday. I'm still setting those up. In fact, I have to kind of work through some things because my Mac is really old, or it's not really old. It's about 5 years old now, and I need to update the operating system for it to actually work with these things. So yeah, that's what's going on. How are we doing here? I am live. Okay, I can see you guys. This is good. Let me hit refresh here. There we go. Cool. Yeah. All right. So yeah, let's jump into it. So first of all, I gotta jump over here. So people started noticing this online just a few days ago that RAM prices have started to fall a little bit. And this is one of those things that I follow a little bit. This is the type of thing that affects the prices of a lot of the things I review. iPads, laptops, Android tablets, that sort of thing. So it was something that I was kind of interested in diving a little bit deeper, but it's not like the core of the thing that I'm actually covering on a day-to-day basis. So, yeah, my basic understanding of how RAM prices work goes something like this. AI companies buy up all the supply. There's not as much. The prices then go up as the supply goes down, and that sort of thing. So from everything I've read, it basically has everything to do with the AI bubble. So we have two options here if we're looking for RAM prices to go down, and in lieu of that, laptop prices to go down, Android tablet prices to go down, all that stuff to go down. We either need the AI bubble to burst, or we need to see, we basically need to see more people making RAM. Both of those things take time. I mean, the bubble may burst quickly. Yo, what's up? The bubble may burst quickly, but to have people actually spin up new factories to produce more products, that's something that I'm sure the RAM manufacturers are working on, but it just doesn't happen overnight. It has to be factory space, and then it has to get into the supply chain and all that different kind of stuff. And we see that all the time because we just saw, sometimes you'll see it affect things immediately. Sometimes it takes a little longer. We've known about these higher RAM prices for a while now, but it's taken 5-6 months to get to the point where PlayStation is raising their prices this week. My name is pronounced Exotic. I don't want you to butcher it. That's good to know. Exotic. Good to see you, man. Or who I shouldn't say man. This week, kind of going over some things, just some odds and ends that have kind of popped up on the on my news feed this week. So welcome in, everybody. So yeah, this week I was surprised to see RAM prices going down because I just didn't expect that to happen. The AI bubble has not popped. We haven't seen a lot of new RAM flood the market. So what exactly is going on? Hold on a second. I actually pulled this up. When I looked this morning, I searched for DDR5 RAM, which is the latest RAM. This page was full of things, and now there's 3 things on here. I don't know if people are buying it up, but there was a bunch of stuff that was actually for sale. This is DDR4 RAM, which is a little bit slower. It's much more affordable. But we're seeing the price here. This is like 8 gigabytes. Let me highlight it so you can see it. That's 8 gigabytes for $150. It was $400. That's a significant drop. Some of these other things, this is another 16 gigabytes. That's went from 300 to 219. This one from 629 to 549. So we are seeing prices starting to come down. This went from 259 to 139. This is still really expensive. I did some math on my computer, and I paid $180 for the RAM I put in my computer, and now that RAM sells on Amazon, same exact thing, for like $1,000. So when you have that boil and you just leave it alone instead of popping it, that's how I see AI fading like a little boil. Yeah. I hope it. I mean, it'd be nice if it fades. I don't want to see OpenAI and Microsoft crash the economy. So I'm there with you. But I don't know. Everybody's saying it's a bubble. There might be something to that. Most countries outside of the USA don't drop prices, like ever. Like things don't go on sale that often anyway. Hello. Welcome to the stream. We're opening up with some RAM prices. We're going to be talking about some other stuff here in a few minutes. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, this stuff's really expensive. So I was just reading some stories on like why have we seen these like sales in the last few weeks. This one, hold on, let me scroll up so we can see the title. This one is DDR5 prices in China face a complete collapse. I think that's kind of exaggerated, as memory markets shift from desperate scarcity to sudden uncertainty. And there seem to be like two things that are going on here. Let me see if I can find it in the story. Well, reporting on the memory industry has suddenly become very interesting. Consider that in the past few months, we've been constantly talking about DRAM prices climbing and how suddenly major PC parts have started to witness shortages. Yep. However, with the release of Google's TurboQuant, the memory industry saw a domino effect with major suppliers like SK, Hynix, Samsung, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, their prices have started to drop. Their stock prices have started to drop. So what is TurboQuant? What is going down there? From Asia here, RAM prices went down a bit, but not normal yet. Yeah, that's pretty much how it is here. Like I was just looking at sales, and you can see there's stuff on sale now, which is good. But compared to like where these prices used to be, they're still way off. Let me find it. Okay, so I look at Google TurboQuant, and basically what's happening here is it's just a new compression method that they're using for AI. Kind of complicated. I was going to read some of this, but it doesn't make any sense. We introduce a set of advanced theoretical grounded quantization algorithms that enable massive compression for large language models and vector search engines. What does that mean? Basically, what happens is whenever you're using any kind of AI model, it's remembering the entire chat. And so as you're having a conversation with it, it's logging things, it's remembering things, and it saves all of that to RAM. That's why these processes are so RAM intensive. And basically what Google is doing here is that it's a very fancy zip file. It's taking all this stuff and it's compressing it, and it's taking up way less space in RAM while you're using the AI. And why this is important is oftentimes there's white papers like this, but the white papers are theoretical. I think the fact that Google is the one who's actually producing like one of these AI products so they can actually roll this out in their product, and it's a white paper, so I'm not sure if that's open source or if they're sharing some of these techniques with the rest of the industry. I don't know how that works, but this is something that they can roll out on the software side that will affect how much RAM they need. I don't think that's going to affect like how much RAM these companies need to have in the long term, because right now we're seeing like actual like bottlenecks, especially with Claude. Like people are noticing it's taking a lot longer to get results and stuff. Like coders, friends of mine, are talking about that sort of thing. So I think we still need more RAM, and unfortunately, they're still going to be building data centers. From Asia here, RAM price. Yeah, I read that already. Sorry about that. I'm still getting used to the live stream thing. Hey, this is my first time joining the stream. Yeah, good to see you. Welcome aboard. Usually we do these every Wednesday at noon. Today I changed it up. Had a lot going on yesterday. How is it that so many people are okay with blatantly allowing AI from all of these companies to just have access to such detailed information about their lives? Man, I don't know. Like, that is a question to ask on so many levels. Like, one, people are just like plugging Google stuff into there, but also like OpenClaw, is it OpenClaw, or it was OpenClaw? It's OpenClaw. A hot new thing. Like, that is not secure at all. Like, people are just like opening up their computers to this thing and letting it go nuts, and other people are finding ways to then go through their anyway, it's a security nightmare. You're right, it's crazy. Hey Brad, I have a question. I'm planning to buy my first display tablet, and I'm choosing between the Canvas Pro 19, that's a good one, and the 2025 Cintiq 16. Which do you think is the better choice? Ooh, that's a good question. I think they're both good. I I think I'd go with the Huion. They're both really good. I don't think you're gonna go wrong going with either one. The Huion 19 is really good, and I really enjoyed it. I love the size. It's, I wouldn't call it portable, but it's easy to move around your desk because it's not super thick and super heavy. I like having the more size. I think Wacom's pen's a little bit better, but it's not that much better. The one thing that I've seen a lot of people say that I didn't really notice so much in my review, but I've seen it a lot in comments, is people said on the Huion 19 that the matte screen that they're using on it is a little blurry. It's not like super crisp, like it kind of, the pixels fade a little bit. It's just not as crisp as it could be because of that matte coating. So that's the sort of thing. If you want that super crispness on your screen, I go with the Wacom. If you want the larger size, I'll go with the Huion. But I think they're both like really, really good products. So yeah. Yeah, so that's part of the reason. So kind of to recap, part of the reason RAM prices are going down is because they're able to do this AI stuff like much more efficiently in the future, in theory. But part of it is this, and this is the crazy story. And basically, OpenAI locked up 40% of the global RAM like capacity with no obligation to buy any of it. So what happened last fall, actually, I'll just read the story. In October 2025, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman flew to Seoul, signed letters of intent with Samsung and Hynix, the world's two largest memory chip makers, targeting 900,000 DRAM wafers starts per month. Analyst estimates that the volume are 40% of the global supply. So if you're wondering why RAM prices just shot up so much so quickly this fall in particular, it is because of this. Sam Altman went out and bought up like 40% of the RAM available in the world. South Korean President Lee Jae stood alongside chipmakers and OpenAI at the announcement. Contract DRAM prices then surged in the aftermath, as we all know. Both agreements were letters of intent, preliminary expressions of interest carrying no enforceable purchase obligation and no requirement to deliver a single chip. So the reason why this is important, and this is kind of relevant to all of this stuff, is that they actually, like, it was reported as OpenAI is buying all this RAM. They were not. They were saying we intend to buy this RAM, but for various reasons they are not. One is that OpenAI is kind of running out of money. OpenAI is still a private company. They are a startup. They have not gone public yet, so they don't have to disclose a lot of these things like some of these other companies do. So this is a little bit shady. So anyway, it goes on to say the market did not read them this way. Micron shut down Crucial. Like, Crucial is a brand that sold memory. Micron, who runs that, shut it down. 29-year-old consumer memory brand in December. Citing AI-driven demand, reducing its entire allocation. Anyway, this tweet kind of sums it up. Our timeline is genuinely insane. In October, Sam Altman flies to Seoul, signs simultaneously deals with Samsung and Hynix for 900,000 wafers, 40% of the global supply. Neither company knew that the other was signing a nearly identical commitment. Imagine closing your entire consumer memory division because this guy signed a non-binding letter that he would buy 40% of the world's RAM, only to have him rug pulled 3 months later. Sam Altman is kind of nuts. Yeah. Micron's shares are all in free fall this week. Yeah, anyway, the story goes on and on. So that's the other part. So there's these two things. One, we may not need as much RAM to run on AI in the future. And two, someone said they were going to buy all this stuff, and it turns out that they're rug pulling. They're pulling back on all these commitments and things like that. So interesting story. Hopefully this leads to lower tech prices or more sales on stuff going on in the future. I know for me, I haven't really been able to do any like hardcore PC things. Not hardcore PC things. I don't really do hardcore stuff here, but like laptops have gotten a lot more expensive to review and that sort of thing. So hopefully it makes life easier for all of us. I love my Huion 19 4K, but it being 19 inches, when I put the display on 4K, the UI elements are too small, so I barely use the 4K. Interesting. You can't, like, so Windows lets you scale that up, so you could keep it at 4K, but you could set the scaling to like 200%. Mac has a similar thing. It doesn't actually give you percentages, but you can actually make it bigger. So you might want to try that, so you can get the crispness of the 4K without actually like, you know, having tiny little icons on there. But I kind of hear what you're saying. Hi, Brad. I love all your works. Happy to see the stream. Woo! I'm using Huion 19 too. Good. And it's working good. For 3D, we need driver improvements from Huion, like custom gesture features. We need that in budget. I'll keep reading your comments here because I have a question for you. In Windows UI adjustments, is good to be able to change the size of the text settings. Yeah. But Mac, I don't see more options. Oh, okay. Okay. So when you're talking about like gesture improvement, I guess I don't use 3D software enough to really understand that. I know that there's some pens that have like a third button, and a lot of 3D artists really like that because it lets them use that to pivot. Like, is that the kind of thing you're talking about? The intelligence wasn't artificial. The demand was. Yes. Well said. Hey, Brad and everyone. Love your style videos. I really appreciate your content. First time joining the live stream. Welcome. Welcome. Let's see. So yeah, usually if this is your first time, I'm kind of experimenting, just kind of getting my feet wet and trying this stuff. This is week 3, and I think my plan is, or my plan was, is to kind of talk about the topics of the week. There's a lot of stuff that happens, especially when we get into like the late summer, early fall, when a lot of products are releasing and a lot of things are happening. I can't review everything. I can't cover everything. There's new software coming out, and I tend to make long form videos, and so it's just really time consuming to kind of make a review video. You got to test the thing and film it and do all that stuff. It's a lot of fun, but it just takes a little time. And so I thought maybe doing a live stream where I talk about kind of the news of the week would be kind of a fun way to cover a lot of things. So like last week we covered Clip Studio had a bunch of new updates, and we got to go over those. Procreate 6 just was announced. It's coming out later this year, or no, I think Procreate 6 is coming out in 2027. But they're doing a whole overhaul. So we talked about that last week. And so that's kind of what we're doing. This week was a slow news week, not a lot going on. So I'm just talking about RAM prices finally breaking. I know that's not quite like what artists are into necessarily, but it like affects me. So it was something I kind of wanted to do a deep dive into. Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff we're doing. The other thing I want to talk about is it's Monitor Month, which is a holiday I just made up a few days ago because I'm reviewing like 4 monitors this month. So that should be fun. All right, so what do we got? We got ZBrush or Blender for custom zoom. Okay, gotcha. Hey, another one, first time live. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, it's April. We're in the 4th month of the year already. This is kind of nuts. Okay. So, behind me here, is my desk clean? My desk is not clean. I don't know if you could actually see my desk in the thing. Can you? Not really. Hold on, let me go back further. Let me go back even further. Anyway, I got 2 Apple Studio displays. I got the Studio display, which is off. It's over here on the left. And I have the Studio Display XDR, which is the other one. So those are cool. Those are really interesting. I've also kind of come to the conclusion that they're not quite for me. They're really expensive. So what we're looking at here for the Studio display, we'll kind of jump into this one first. This bad boy, first of all, the screen is beautiful. Like the screen itself looks absolutely gorgeous. But I think the other monitors can look good too. It's not the only gorgeous monitor out there now. It's $1,600. 27 inches, 5K, 14.7 million pixels, 600 nits of brightness. It does get really bright. That is one thing that it's got going for it. One thing that's not listed in these stats is this is an LCD display. It's not an OLED display. A lot of the monitors that have been popping up lately are OLED displays. Now, a lot of the drawing tablets I've been using, you can't see it. Or maybe you can. Maybe you can see the very top of it. Oh my gosh. I thought I'd gotten that out of the camera view. I got a Huya, or no, this is the XP Pen 27, which I reviewed 2 weeks ago. Beautiful screen, LCD display. One of the most beautiful displays I've ever seen. I'm really excited to like get this back on my desk and like look at this next to these guys and just see how some of these other monitors do. Great stuff. Yeah, 1 billion colors, P3 wide color, blah, blah, blah. 12 megapixel center stage camera with desk view, 3 mic array, 6 speaker audio. I think when I've looked at reviews about this monitor, a lot of people have compared it to other monitors, and I'm going to be comparing it to other monitors. And I think what's important to kind of think about with these is this isn't just a monitor, but it's like half of an iMac. You know, it's designed to plug your laptop into or your Mac Mini into and kind of go from there. So so because of that, you're not just getting the screen, but you're getting this center stage camera. You're getting the speakers. Oh my gosh, the speakers are really good. I have some like Steel Series speakers next to my computer, and these sound better than my like speakers. It's like really good. You could like daisy chain these monitors together if your computer can handle it. My computers cannot handle it, unfortunately. But yeah, so they're doing some interesting things here that other monitors aren't doing. But also, that means that these aren't for everybody. You know, another thing that this doesn't talk about here is this is only a 60 hertz display. Nowadays, especially like in the gaming space, you're getting monitors like monitors in this price range. Like people are going nuts with like 240 hertz refresh rate and like 4K and crazy stuff. This is a 5K display, and basically the reason it's 5K instead of 4K is because of the way the Mac scales. At least the screen size scales up. Is sometimes on a 4K display it's splitting pixels. So if you like look at text, the text might get a like pixel too wide. That's something that has never really bothered me when I use something like this XP Pen or anything like that. I don't really notice it unless I put on glasses and I like go in really close. But that is something that drives a lot of Apple people nuts. I'm catching up on comments here. In the Huion driver, there is no dedicated menus for touch gesture settings, only that I see drawback. I should make a note of that because that's something to include in a review because that's a good point. You are a natural behind the camera. Setup looks clean, and I can't see the dust. Good. I'm glad. Actually, when I set up the monitors today, I dusted off like behind the monitors because I have not dusted off the little tray and stuff like that behind my monitor in months. So thank you. I'm glad you can't see it even when it is there, even though it's not there at the moment. Also, it's you can get nano textured glass on it. I did not. Apple sent me the really nice one, and then the other one I picked up because I wanted to kind of compare the two. So this one, the just standard studio display I picked up. Oh yeah, here we go. Camera, mics, welcome, setting, sound. Yeah, so this is like half an iMac. In fact, this display has an A19 chip in it. And that may mean nothing to you. That's the same processor that the iPhones come with. That's actually, well, there's actually two A9 chips. There's the A9 chip and there's the A9 Pro. The Pro processor has more cores. It comes in the Pro phones. Also, the A19 Pro is also what's coming in the MacBook Neo right now. So like that chip is running an entire Mac. So like if you add, I don't know, some storage, like an SSD drive and some Wi-Fi to it, some Bluetooth to it, you would have a computer. Like these are basically computers without the computery parts. Are you planning on making a video on the MacBook Neo or the TorBox Elite Plus? I so many people have asked about the MacBook Neo that I'm tempted to pick one up just to test it out because everybody keeps asking, but I wasn't planning on it. But you're like the 10th person who's asked, so maybe I will because it's not that expensive. The Torbox Elite Plus, um, I have the old Torbox and I'm not sure. I'm tempted to go into my closet and find it, but I shouldn't do that on live streams. Um, but yeah, the tour box is cool. I liked it. I didn't think it was that special. Like I thought it was cool. I thought it was nice. I thought it was kind of expensive for what it was. It was ergonomic, like the buttons were placed well and everything. It's got the dials and everything. I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was like that much better than some of the other remotes that were out there. But obviously this is the Elite Plus. They've added a lot of stuff to it. I should look into it. I should actually contact them and see if they want to send me a review unit because that might be kind of a fun review. Let's see. Yeah, anyway, this goes on to talk about all the sound. The speakers do sound really good on this thing. The speakers are so good. Displays well with others, pairs with your Mac. Yay. Okay. Oh, also it's beautiful. Like seriously, the brushed aluminum is awesome. The one thing I would say is that like in a setup like mine, it doesn't matter because like you can't see the back of the display. So it when I worked in an office, this is what we wanted. Like it killed us. We designed the office and we just picked out the chairs and the desks and the carpet, and then we had these ugly Dell monitors sitting on our desks. So we would have loved something like this back then. Oh yeah. This is the other thing. I got the standard stand. I think it's I want to say $400 more to get the height adjustable stand. It is the height adjustable thing, I will say, is cool. Like, because you just push up a little bit on the monitor screen and like the whole monitor goes up. It's really nice. It's totally over engineered. It's total overkill for what they're doing. There's also a VESA mount option, which is basically if you want to put it on a monitor arm, put it on another stand, like what they're showing here, because you can't turn it sideways. It just basically goes up and down and it tilts like backward and forward a little bit too. Are you planning? Oh yeah, here we go. Torbox Elite Plus finally works. It didn't work forever unless you had an iPad to program it with. Huh? That's wild. Finally works with Android. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, with Android, it works. Let's see. Mac accessories, blah, blah, blah. But the other one I want to check out, hold on, let me go back. So this is way more interesting. The Studio Display XDR. Let's learn more about this. This is interesting, but it's also really, this is crazy expensive. This is, hold on, it's $3,500, right? Let me go back. $3,300, and it comes with the tilt adjustable stand. If you want the VESA mount, that actually costs less. Like that actually takes money off. It only comes with the height adjustable. Like you can't buy the XDR without the without the adjustable stand. Anyway, yeah. So this thing is gorgeous. It is not an OLED display. It's a mini LCD mini LED display. And basically what that means is what happens with OLED is every single pixel is individually like either on or off, right? So if it's on, it's displaying RGB. If it's off, it's black. And so when you hear people talk about OLED displays and they say the inky blacks, that's what they're talking about because it is literally turning off the pixels on and oops, I hit my keyboard and I scrolled. Where did I go? There we go. On an LCD display, like this XP pen I have in front of me that you can't see, I'm sorry. Basically, the entire back of this thing is backlit. There's one big light and it's shining through all the pixels. And what that does is that when you have those blackest blacks, like, again, you can't see it, but like on the corner of my screen, the background of the Apple web page is black. It's going into the bezel. You can see that the black there isn't quite as black as the bezel. On an OLED display, a lot of times, depending on how it's designed, like you can't see the difference between the bezel and the screen below it because it's just that pixel's off. It's completely off. Yeah. Yeah, what else? Oh, yeah. So this is a mini LED display. So how is that different than a normal LED display? Well, instead of having like that one big backlight, it's got individually dimmed areas. So it's not turning on each pixel individually, but I think it's got 2,300 some dimming zones. So it's taking these really small areas and it's able to turn off areas of the screen, which kind of emulates a lot of what you're getting. And so if it's doing HDR content, it can like turn that off and like push up the whites. And let's go to the stats because the number of nits on this thing is crazy. 27-inch XDR. Yeah, so we've got 2,000 nits of peak brightness with HDR. Hold on, go back. Exceptional contrast. So I haven't even checked out HDR content yet. I'm just using the monitor as it is, and it is crazy bright. So I need to like check out HDR content. Here we go. 120 hertz refresh rate. Okay, so this is the big one. The studio display, even though it's a really expensive monitor, is only 60 hertz refresh rate. This is 120. So this is going to give you just like a much smoother feel to that display when you're using it. Gaming is really where you see it. This is the one area where I think is kind of interesting. I have 120 hertz on my laptop, my Mac laptop, and I don't really notice it that much. I notice it more on the phone. I notice it more on an iPad. And I think part of that is because the interface is designed for more animation. The interface is kind of designed for just more stuff to happen. And you just notice that more. You scroll through text more because you're on a tiny screen and you're flicking through it. So that refresh rate, I think, on a mobile device is much more important than it is on a screen this size. Until you get to gaming. And I do like to play games. So for me, $3,500 to get 120 hertz is nuts. But it is available here. And I really wish that the studio display, like which is $1,200 or $1,500, I wish they just bit the bullet and given it a higher refresh rate. It has 2 Thunderbolt 5 display ports, so you can daisy chain these things together. Your Mac has to support it, so I think you need like an M3 to M5 processor. It has to be a Pro or a Max processor. A standard like M3 isn't going to work. Also, I'm going to test this out with the iPad. I have an M5 iPad, and that can be plugged into one of these things. I'm curious to see how that'll work. That should be fun. Yeah, and then the center stage camera, this is the same exact camera that's on the studio display. They added this thing. When did they add it? I think it was added to the iMacs a few years ago, since the camera's at the top there, like it's a wide angle lens, and so they can crop it in such a way that if you set something on your desk, that wide angle lens can kind of like see what's on your desk and just crop that part of the image, and it makes it look like it has an overhead camera, but really it's doing some funny trickery with the camera. And I don't think it makes the images look good, but in a pinch, you can show stuff on it. Take a closer look. It is a really nice looking display from the outside. It's also interesting because I'm so used to PC displays where they give you like, hey, you want to use Thunderbolt to plug this in, you can use Thunderbolt. You want to use HDMI to plug this in, you could use HDMI. Here, it's like we got 4 USB-C ports. Have fun. Not a lot of options. Totally built for the Mac ecosystem. Image quality is another thing. So it's one thing, I look at so many screens, and so many screens are good now. Like the things that I tend to look at are just like nice screens. Like everything has a nice screen now. I shouldn't say everything. There are some products out there where I'm like, this Android tablet kind of stinks. But nowadays, like a nice screen is kind of the like to get in the door to be considered a decent product. Like it's just the default. Like screens have gotten good. So we've also hit this point of diminishing returns with a lot of these screens, and just kind of using the studio display, that is definitely kind of how I'm feeling it right now, where yeah, it's a beautiful display, but like, is it 5% better than what I was using? Is it 10% better? The one thing it does really well, if you have a MacBook, is that the colors between the MacBook screen and the display work so well together. I'm sure a lot of you have gone through that situation where you have a drawing tablet and you have your laptop screen and you pull your image over from one to the other, like you're done working on your tablet, you disconnect it, you close it up, you go back to your laptop, you pull it open, you're like, those aren't the colors I picked out. Like getting colors to match between those two things can be really crazy. Turns out that if you are kind of in that Mac ecosystem, they've done an exceptional job of doing that. In fact, Apple on this and I haven't played with this yet. So I'm finding this great color accuracy like before I dive into the details. And Apple has actually been playing with a new color space and calibration technique and that sort of thing that they're kind of rolling out with this XDR display. I have to learn up on that. I have to figure that out. Another thing you'll find is in the settings of a lot of these things, you'll kind of dive in and you'll get in there and you see like, okay, what color profile am I going to use? Am I going to use the MAC color profile? Am I going to use the sRGB profile? Am I going to use the P3 profile? Here, instead of having like 8, 9 profiles to choose from, it's got like 50 color profiles. They've kind of gone out of their way to like really address that sort of thing. Like, so if you're doing print work, this is great for that. If you're doing photography, it's great for that. If you're doing video work, it's great for that. So you can kind of use all of these different color profiles. They've even got it set up so it can be used. I forget the exact certification, but it's medically certified. So if you want to look at MRIs on this thing, like you can legitimately do that. Yeah. Standard SDR brightness 1000 nits. Peak HDR brightness 2000 nits. 1,000,000 to 1 color ratio, 120 hertz. It really does look good. I just don't know if it's like, there's other good looking monitors out there. I don't know if it's worth the price. You really want to have to need, I don't know how to say it. Basically, if you need that high end color accuracy, that's when this becomes kind of valuable to you. And if you don't, I think everybody else is just kind of, you're really better off going in a different direction here. Click through these things. Oh yeah, set your screen to stun. Studio Display XDR offers calibration on a wide range of reference model ideas for filmmakers, photographers, graphic designers, and soon even medical professionals. Yeah, so it says soon medical professionals, so they probably haven't been officially licensed or whatever the process of certification is there. I should check out the MacBook Neo while I am here because I have not paid a ton of attention to that little guy. It would be interesting to see. Hold on, let me go to MacBook Neo. Oh, it's so cute. Yeah, I've seen people, but mostly like other tech reviewers, say that this thing is underpowered. And I mean, for certain tasks it is. I wouldn't want to go video editing on this. I run out of RAM when I was using like Adobe Animate a lot. I don't have a ton of RAM on my MacBook, and so that was the type of thing that I kind of run out of. But here, 8 gigabytes gonna run out quick. Yeah, agreed with your take on the value display. Yeah, it's just hard. They're really expensive, and I'm briefly touched on it. Like when I worked in an office, we wanted pretty monitors. Things have changed. Like I just got an Asus in the mail like 5 minutes before I started recording this. It's a ProArt monitor and it looks really good. Like I would not have a problem putting it on my desk. But you just go back 5-6 years and like all the monitors were plastic except Apple's really nice displays. And that was something that kind of drove us nuts. Is it's like I'm willing to pay the Apple tax to get something that's beautiful, but I don't want to pay like $2,000 more for a display. That's just nuts. It's crazy. Medical. What specific reason, I wonder, more accuracy for photo or preview? My guess would be if you're looking at someone's brain scan or if you're looking at something, they want those monitors to be calibrated like within an inch of their lives because oh, my phone is ringing. Stop ringing, phone. Go away. You're distracting me. Basically, when I think what's happening with a lot of these things is that like so say you look at something on a cheap monitor. I'm thinking like my dentist's office has the cheapest monitors I've ever seen because they don't need super accuracy. They're like, oh, that looks like a cavity. But say you're looking at like brain tumors or something like that, and you're trying to see, okay, this white area is whiter. If your monitor isn't calibrated enough, it may look bigger than it should be, right? And that's kind of a big deal, So if you can say, okay, when you're looking at it from one monitor in one room to another doctor's office in another room, if you can have that kind of consistency and okay, this size brain tumor is too big, this size is just a watch size, that sort of life or death thing, you kind of need to be really, your tools can screw you over. And I think that's probably why they need this accuracy. And it's also probably why it has to meet a certain threshold, and why, like, internally at Apple, they probably know we meet the threshold, but it has to go through a process where it's then tested. Other people have looked at it. It's kind of gotten that government certification, and it kind of goes from there. Uh, People are saying this is going to be a big year for tech. So, any art tech you're excited for? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. It's hard to say, because we are in this pattern with art tech where when we're looking at drawing tablets, kind of everything that comes out now is really good. In fact, Huion has stepped up their game on their like entry level stuff, like their 13-inch tablet, their 16-inch tablet. Those are like really good, and they're like $300 or $400 a piece. They're so good at that price. You're getting like this amazing pen. The screen would have been a pro level screen 3 or 4 years ago, and now it's just in their base level product. So it's just like the quality of everything has gone up. When I look at an iPad, like the iPad Air came out and I reviewed it a few weeks ago, it's not that much better than an iPad Pro. Like the only difference for me, the only thing I miss on that Air is the refresh rate is 60 hertz instead of 120 hertz. But it's got the M4 processor. Like all these things are like really good. Android tablets are the same way. I was actually, one of the stories I had like last week that I didn't get to. Maybe I'll go back to it next week. Samsung released some of their basically Samsung's Android tablets were a growing part of their business over the last few years, and last year it started to contract a little bit. And the main reason is everybody else is entering the market. So like OnePlus and Huawei and all these companies are making really good Android tablets now. Hello, welcome to the chat. I agree. You should subscribe. I completely agree. Yeah. So in terms of like what am I excited for? I guess I'm not sure. I have not seen anything new on the horizon. The one thing that I think people are kind of looking forward to is there might be a new MacBook in kind of the next few months. They're talking about adding touch to Macs. That's a big deal. I would love to see them add Apple Pencil support, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think the rumors out there are saying that these touch interfaces are going to be different, a little bit different than what's on the iPad. So I don't think we're going to see that full functionality. It's just going to be a touch screen on a Mac. I'm curious to see if this is a 360-degree laptop or if it's just like a MacBook that you can now mess up the screen on. I sometimes like touchscreens on Windows and I sometimes don't. If I'm just using a laptop, I like to keep my screen clean. If it's a 360-degree laptop, that's a little bit different. I can use it for drawing. But just like touching the screen with my finger on a laptop, I'm not really a fan. It gets too yucky and then I have to clean it too much. Do you remember this thing from many, oh wait, hold on. I skipped Josh up here. You know what I realized about the major technology news? The launch of the MacBook Neo and the increase of the PlayStation 5. Pair those things together and you have a great Windows replacement. I would agree with that. I would throw if you're looking at the gaming space, what Steam is doing with the Steam machine, that's on par with the PlayStation in terms of hardware, and that's kind of bringing in a Linux environment. I think that's really interesting because you're still getting the benefits, like, because we're talking about a Windows replacement. Like if you already are kind of invested in Windows games and the Steam ecosystem, like the Steam machine's a really interesting option. I think it's funny. I think I turned it off. I installed Crimson Desert on the MacBook, the M5 MacBook. It's not a Pro or a Max chip. It's just a standard M5 chip. And I was playing that on the 120 hertz display because I thought, hey, it's good for gaming. Let's try it out. I could barely get I had the settings set to low and I was getting like 30 to 40 frames per second on the game. So I was like, okay, I see the problem is Max, like, okay, it's one thing to make a monitor that can go up to 120 hertz, but if you don't have anything that can actually run that speed, It's not really useful. Do you remember this thing from many, many years ago called Jamuse and MuseWorks? I don't. I don't know if I do. That sounds vaguely familiar, but not super familiar. Subscribe. I agree. Follow up question. If Apple actually releases a touchscreen and Apple Pencil support to the new MacBook, would that kill the iPad? It depends. I think it could, because one of the things we talked about in last week's stream is that Procreate 6 is coming, and that is going to be on iPad and it's going to be a Mac OS thing. So Procreate is coming to Mac OS. It's official. It's not just a rumor to talk about. It is a thing that is happening. Um, and in that case, like if you had Apple Pencil support, if you had Procreate, if you could of course use the Apple Pencil in Photoshop. Maybe the one thing that makes me say it depends really comes down to like the iPad is so convenient. It's so mobile. So if Apple could like keep the thinness of the iPad Air and kind of make a MacBook that feels like a tablet and doesn't feel bulky, like one of the weird things about like using a Samsung 360-degree laptop like a Galaxy Book or something like that is when you're using it, your hands are touching the keys on the bottom. It's just a weird experience. It's also like a thick guy, like when you fold it over. So, excuse me. So it's just a totally different experience. I think if they could nail it, like yeah, like if you could have this thing like I don't know, spin the screen around and then close it and this so you get a smooth back and it's super 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 thin, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. It could be done. I don't know if that's what they're going for with this product though. You just answered as soon as I asked the question. Yeah. I can't attend tomorrow. I need to board a flight at and it's night for me. Sorry, bye. All right, well, take care, man. I'm using Linux right now with a Huion tablet. Krita works well, but I'll still move back to Windows sometimes just for Clip Studio Paint. Yep. If Clip Studio just worked on Linux, I'd have no reason to use Windows anymore. Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with the Linux like ecosystem. I've never paid attention to Linux but then getting a Steam Deck gaming like it's a hobby and I love it and I just kind of love deep diving into some of that stuff and just geeking out about it. So the Steam deck has been great and how we're seeing all this like Proton and the layer of compatibility added to it and the fact that you're seeing this stuff run on other PCs. The computer I am streaming on is the computer I reviewed a few weeks ago and I have on my PC, I had an extra thing of memory, or not memory, of storage. And so I installed SteamOS on that. No, I installed Bazite, which is a fork of SteamOS on it, and ran it on my computer. And it was okay. I have an NVIDIA processor or a GPU, and really SteamOS is kind of built around AMD. And so there were some quirks to it, and it couldn't go up to the full resolution and that sort of thing. But I thought it was a cool idea, and I am tempted with this to like for whatever reason the SSD, it's a 2 terabyte SSD that it came with, but it's already segmented into two. I'm tempted to take half of that and like install SteamOS on there or Bazite or something like that and just try it here with AMD and see how well it works. But yeah, oh yeah, the other part of that where I was going with that is just like once gaming kind of moves over to Linux, like the problem with Linux has always been is it doesn't have that kind of foot in the door of a user base who's really eager to get in there. Like Linux heads love it, right? Open source people love it. But when you get back to kind of the normies out there, they're like, okay, I can use Krita instead of Clip Studio. I can use like GIMP instead of Photoshop, but like Windows works. I don't want to hassle, right? But now that you have SteamOS, which is actually offering like a really good gaming interface that is kind of giving you that console-like experience on a PC with the flexibility of the PC, and you can add mods like a PC, and you can like use games for different stores if you know how to kind of hack around it. It's really cool. That seems like a real foot in the door that other people could walk through. I'm curious to see if that actually happens over time. let's see. Like your honesty, we're reviewing hardware, not favoring any brand, just analyzing the tech and how it evolves. The live stream follows the same pattern. Yeah, cool. I'm glad you do. I like all tech. I like in terms of what I use a lot of Apple stuff day to day. Um, but like I was saying a few minutes ago, like everything has gotten so good. Like it used to be when I started doing this, you could get a drawing tablet and it would suck. Like it was just bad. And now I'm trying to think. The last bad product I tested, I think, was last year around this time. Huion released a really inexpensive drawing tablet, and if you look at like what Wacom has done and what XP Pen has done, is that they've taken their pens and they brought them over to Android. And I think that the Wacom drivers were already kind of on Android. I don't fully understand all that, but you know, it's like it was a nice transition. So you're using the pen technology that you love on Android. It's fantastic. What Huion did is they just took an off the shelf pen. So like their greatest advantage, they just didn't invest in. And then they of course went with an inexpensive Android tablet just to kind of fill the gap. And it just wasn't good. The screen quality wasn't good. The like experience wasn't good. It wasn't quite fast enough. That was the only bad product I reviewed last year. And if I go back 6, 7 years when I was started to do this stuff, like some of the stuff was just bad. Like the drivers would break all the time, and all that stuff is so much more stable now. It's amazing how far the tech has come. So yeah, it's kind of in this space where I'd like to be meaner to other brands, but like most everything has like a really valid reason to exist now. So even if I'm used to Apple stuff, like moving over to Android, especially like the Wacom tablet, man, that pen was so good that it was like, I kind of want to use this. And when you're using Clip Studio Paint and the pen is really good, like it's indistinguishable from an iPad when you're like in that experience, you know? Let's see what we got. I miss convertibles like my old HP with the screen that would rotate around and fold over the keyboard. I've never used any with the I can't talk. I've never used like a convertible. I know what you're talking about with the twisty screen. I've always used just the 360s, and so you got the keyboard at the bottom, and it feels kind of weird. I've even like one of the reasons I gravitated to like Surface products early on is because you could just pull off the keyboard and didn't have to worry about it. And of course, one of the things you run into there is like the Windows ecosystem. Like if you're using Photoshop, is that like then you don't have your keyboard shortcuts anymore. And like Clip Studio Paint and a lot of other programs solve that by just adding hand gestures so you can pinch and zoom and pan around and undo and that sort of thing. Kind of like an iPad. There would be a point where Apple had enough and finally said, let the iPad just be a Mac. I mean, the MacBook Neo is a funny example, like the iPhone chipset and the laptop. Yeah, I mean, anymore, all of their hardware is kind of converging. I don't, I don't know if they ever will, but yeah, that would be cool. Like, I'm using it this way now, and then I could just like boot into like iPad mode, and it feels like they're slowly like trying to turn the iPad into a Mac, but like step by step it's taken forever. But what if you just had like, I know other people have said this a million times, what if your iPad Pro with your Magic Keyboard is just a Mac, and then you're like, okay, now I'm going to go to iPad mode, and then boom, it took you to the iPad screen, and there's your apps, and I could just tap into Procreate, and 2 taps away, and I'm just using the iPad the way I want to use it. It makes so much sense. I don't know if they'll ever do that though. Um, yeah, and again, like these iPads have M4, M5 processors. They totally could pull this off. The Neo is a great product at a great price, but it's insane that you can spend several $100s more on an iPad and be able to do arguably less. Yeah, yeah, totally. Also, it's good to see you, Kyle. Yeah, that I don't have anything to add to that. That was really well said. But yeah, this is like the A19 Pro chip that is in this MacBook Neo is probably, well, actually the Air now has the M4. But I wouldn't be surprised if they update the base level iPad with just a standard A19. Like that's probably what they're going to do this fall. That's kind of like the strategy they follow. Oftentimes they're like a generation or two behind with those. Whoa, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the super chat there, or whatever that's called. Thank you, thank you. Yeah. Um yeah, I might just go and find a Neo to review because I think this would be a really cool, like, it might be a cool review. It might be fun to just see, like, okay, realistically speaking, I have a feeling that you could install Photoshop on this thing in Illustrator and it would probably be okay. I think Adobe recommends 16 gigs of RAM. This only has 8. But I wouldn't be surprised if it runs okay. And I bet most people who are getting one of these don't want Photoshop. They probably want, like, just put Clip Studio on it, just run Krita on it, you know? Um, it's got 2 USB-C ports. It can plug in a drawing tablet, you know? Aren't there USB-C ports on both sides? No, there are not. See, that could get interesting. Is you probably can run your drawing tablet with one USB cord. But how do you power that thing at the same time? Yeah, that'll be something to check in on. But yeah, that could be fun to test. I might do that. Not much is going on in April. Usually I know, like, I get stuff in my inbox where people are like, hey, we're launching something a few weeks out, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing. There's nothing on the schedule. We just got through some iPads. We just got through some Huion was released a 22-inch, XP Pen a 30, what is this? 27-inch. 27-inch. Yeah, yeah. So it's about 1 o'clock here. How's everybody doing? I usually do this for about an hour. I think I'm going to sign off here pretty soon. But yeah, if this is your first time, I want to say welcome. I really appreciate you guys stopping in. I mentioned it's monitor month. I have 4 videos in progress right now of 4 different monitors, but none of them are going to be ready for Monday. So I don't know if I'm going to have a video until, like, late next week. We'll see how everything kind of pans out. But I have a feeling it's going to be, since this monitor thing is kind of like I'm looking at all of them at the same time and I'm doing some compare contrast type things. I have a feeling that how the reviews are going to happen is it's like once one falls, it's like 2 days later the next one's going to be ready. A day later the next one's going to be ready, and I might artificially pace them out a little better. We'll have to see how all that comes together. But I appreciate all you guys coming in here. Wednesday next week, hopefully I'm not moving it this time, but Wednesdays at noon my time, we're doing these live streams. It's been fun just kind of chatting with you guys, kind of going over the news and stuff like that, and all that stuff. So yeah, great. I'll look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Hopefully, I had some audio problems last week. Hopefully it's fixed. I had a huge delay on the microphone. I haven't seen anybody comment on it, so that's good. There was also some lag on the stream itself because I was recording this on my computer while also streaming it. I'm not recording this time. I'm just streaming. So hopefully that helps out. But yeah, anyway, thank you all for watching. Hello, welcome to the stream. Sorry I'm signing off. But thank you all for watching. And that's all I have this week. You guys have a great week, and I will see you next Wednesday.